welcome to my first ride impression of the SCOR 4060 ST. Did you get that? Okay, cool. So, pretty stoked about this bike. I've been wanting to ride one of these for a really long time. I almost bought one last year. They were like impossible to find, and one of my local shops got one. It was a long travel version, and long story short, ended up not getting it. I want to say thank you to SCOR. They sent me this bike for me to do a review on. It's completely free. Like, I'm not getting paid or anything, so it's a complete non-biased review. And I'm going to be doing this first ride on it and then a full-on review later on, which I'm super stoked about, which is going to be coming out at the end of May probably. So stay tuned for that. But so stoked on this, and this is going to be my first ride. So once again, my first ride videos, I'm just out there riding the bike. But this one had kind of a twist. I rode it the first ride, and I had the suspension settings not great. I had it at about 30% sag, which is usually what I start with, and it's pretty good. But I just couldn't get along with the bike, and then rode it again on just like a short little trail, because the trail I wanted to ride was a directional trail, and I couldn't ride it that day. We couldn't go downhill on that day, so got it dialed in a little bit better, and then went back to the original trails that I rode it on with the suspension settings that I didn't like, and went back with 25% sag in the rear. And I'm not really sure what the sag level was in the fork, but it was 100, or it was just 50% of my body weight is what I did. And then I did some rebound and some compression clicker adjustments, and it made a major difference, which you'll see here in the videos here shortly. But let's go over the build real quick. This bike is $71.99. It's their highest end build, so it comes with RockShox Pike Ultimate on the front. On the new models, this is a 2022 model. The 2023 will come with that new Pike, which is super good. All that new RockShox products are so good with that. The buttercups and all that, I don't know if it's just the buttercups that makes a big difference, but the whole thing together works so well. And then once again, it comes with the RockShox Super Deluxe Ultimate. This once again is last year's model, but the new model will come with the brand new RockShox equipment. Full carbon frame, and I want to say this frame is pretty impressive on the climb and the descent, so pretty stoked on that. We're gonna get into that later. Carbon GX cranks, so this is their GX build. It's cool that it comes with the carbon cranks. Not many builds are coming with carbon GX cranks. When those came out a couple years ago, I expected a lot of manufacturers to spec those on their bikes, and this is one of the first ones I've seen on spec. And then obviously just a GX cable drivetrain, super solid, no problems with that at all. And then it's got the DT Swiss, what are the XM 1700s. There's so many different models of the 1700s. Got to make sure that was right. But another thing that I really like, they spec an Assegai up front and a dissector in the rear. I love that combo. Or a DHR2 in the rear, or DHR2 front and rear. Those are some of my favorite combos. It comes with a carbon bar and BergTech stem, and then Toda RC brakes, and then BergTech grips, which I love BergTech grips. I think they're my favorite grips out there. So super solid build on this bike. Also, one other thing, bike yoke dropper, my favorite dropper out there. This bike has been rode before me, and I'm not sure how well it was maintained. The dropper does have a little bit of issues. It doesn't come back up very fast, and I checked the air pressure and all that stuff in it. I've had bike yoke droppers though for extended periods of times, never had a problem with it, so not sure what's going on with that, but had to talk about it. But let's get out on the trail, see how this thing goes, and check it out. All right, real windy today. So I was not confident with how my first ride went, especially on this specific trail. It's real windy today, so a little bit different, but I wanted to come back out and try out this bike after making some suspension changes, and it feels about 100 times better. Like, it's night and day. So I am stoked about that. Yeah, this is way better. Whew. Oh man, someone took out a rock right there. But yeah, this bike feels way more stable, way just more comfortable. I went to about 25 to 26% sag in the rear. The thing is, the new bike comes with the new RockShox suspension, so it'll be a little bit different than what I have, but I think that 25% sag is going to be a good starting point. And then if it's a little too poppy or whatever for you, maybe go back to like 28%. I started at 30 and it just wasn't very comfortable to me, the bike overall in general. I also, these stock carbon bars are a little bit weird feeling to me, but I rotated them a little bit further forward than what I thought that I'd like after riding the bike, and that feels way better. All right, so this is just a short little twisty section, which I think really is a good trait for this bike. Just twisty trails, high speed, flowy. I think that's where this bike really shines, for being like this travel bike. But I will say, through those little rock gardens that we went through just back there on the last trail, it was way more composed than it was before I got the suspension all dialed in. And man, this thing, the stand up and pedal, like, you can just go. It's pretty dang supportive and zippy feeling for how much travel it has. Pretty ridiculous. I mean, every bike these days, it seems like you can say that about, but yeah, this one extra supportive and extra like cloudy feeling. It's pretty rad mix that this bike has, and that SCOR came up with, which SCOR is a side brand of BMC, so that supportive feel definitely makes sense. But yeah, super cool bike. Way happier with it today than I was on my actual first ride. I know this is a first ride impression video, but that first ride was really not worthy of a video. So yeah, stoked I came back out here, got it all dialed in. All right, here we go, another run down shake. This time let's talk about geometry a little bit. This is a size medium, and it has a 461 millimeter reach, 1210 millimeter wheelbase, and what is it, 65.5 degree head tube angle. Man, that right there is usually not very plush feeling on bikes around this travel, but it feels really good. I noticed that last time when I was riding down, and it just felt so good. Yeah, a lot of composure, I'd say, on this thing. A more than I felt last time. And yeah, super stoked about it. I'm gonna take the fast line this time. Woo! Oh yeah. Boom. Yeah, this thing feels way better. So stoked on it. Really excited to do the full review and little sneak peek. I've been kind of talking about it a little bit, but it's gonna be a shootout video, and oh, that was goofy, but the bikes are gonna be going head to head against each other, and there's gonna be 6 of them. So pretty dang stoked. Heard it in this video first, and stoked to get that going. Man, what a beautiful day. All right, here we go down the flow trail. And this bike is getting pretty dialed in for me. I actually set up a shock whiz onto this bike and got it all feeling real good. So super stoked on that. Real easy to use. I'm surprised that shock whizzes aren't talked about more often. But anyways, this bike jumps really good. Super like nimble feeling in the air. Feels like you just flick it around. It's pretty windy right now, so hopefully you can hear me fine. But man, this bike is super fun. Woo! All right, had some people on the trail, so got it going. But yeah, this bike is super fun. Woo, can't see it all right now. Yeah, you can get the front end up so easy when you're in the air. It just jumps super well, which I'm not sure if that's really what you're looking for. All right, let's get into this. This bike, like I kind of hinted at before, when I first rode it, I was kind of disappointed. I thought it climbed pretty well. I thought it descended mediocre. And then I went to that 25% sag, and it just made everything different on the bike. Climbing made it one of the fastest 140 millimeter travel bikes that I've ever climbed. I think there's very few that I think could beat it, honestly, for speed. It's a comfortable climb too. I don't know if it's these bars, I don't know if it's the bend of these bars or whatever it is. I'm not the biggest fan, but that's a very personal thing. So what might not feel great to me might feel amazing to someone else. So that's just something you got to understand when you're buying a bike. The bars might be perfect, the grips might not, or it might be opposite, or they might both be bad. But that's something that you can just buy. It's not crazy expensive. I know it's a bummer because you're buying the bike, but that's something we don't need to spend that much time on. So I think the bars were a little goofy. I like 780. I believe these are at 800, which I can't cut them down. It's not my bike, but pretty great climber overall. Really impressed with that. And then heading over to that descent side, man, at first I was like, whoa, this thing is pretty soft and gooey, and like, I think I even said in one of my videos, I don't know, I think that might have been one that I'm probably not going to put in this video because it just was not comfortable for me. But I was like, well, this is super cloud-like descending, and it still has that, but not as much, which I actually kind of like, because I really like to feel the trail, especially on a bike like this. Like if you're on an enduro bike, yeah, you kind of want it to just plow right through and not feel anything. But this is a trail bike. This is 140, 150. And I think on that level of travel of bike, you really want to just kind of have fun with the bike, still be able to plow through stuff, but you want to be able to feel it a little bit more. And that's my thought. I don't know like what you guys think, but man, came to life, and I felt like I could just put the bike where I wanted it and just plow through stuff and have confidence going through it without the bike getting out of whack or anything. Man, it was night and day difference. So if you have this bike, I'd recommend trying both, and then trying like 27 or 28 also, and just getting a feel for all three. Do 25% sag, 28 or 27, and then 30% sag. And maybe for you, the 30% sag is what is better. But if you already own this bike, it's worth giving that a shot. If you don't own this bike and you are going to buy it, 100% try both of those. Because I have a friend, he said he rides in between 25 and 30%, and it depends on his day or whatever, but man, like, for me, I would never go away from 25. Maybe 26, but that 25% felt so good, I don't think I would ever need anything different. So I think it climbs better than like a Santa Cruz Hightower. I've never rode the new Yeti SB140, but I think it climbs pretty dang close to that SB130, and that was kind of like above, in my opinion. That thing climbs so well. If you had it spec'd in the right, specs of comparatively to other bikes and weight and everything, it's probably the best climbing 130, 140 travel bike I've ever rode, and this one might be as good. I don't have that bike anymore. I haven't rode one in about a year, so it's been a while. But man, it's super, super rad. Completely different opinion, which is something that I want to let you guys know. Like, if you get a new bike, don't judge it on your first ride. Or on your first ride, take a shock pump with you and go and mess with things. Suspension makes such a big difference in how the bike feels. And that's not just for this bike, that's for any bike you're going to ride. So just mess around with it. It can make you love your bike or hate your bike. And all bikes are so good right now. You can make it work, I guarantee it. So anyways, got sidetracked there. But yeah, overall, stoked on this bike. Super excited to keep riding it. And like I've mentioned before, we do have a pretty cool trail bike series coming out here in a few weeks to a month probably. I bet you middle of May to end of May. Some stuff will be dropping. Super stoked. Keep an eye for that. And if you like this video, like and subscribe for more, and get out and ride.